Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Welcome to the next edition of Missing the Point. I am your guy, Hollywood Ray, with my guy, one half, or I guess, well, 2/3 of the basketball crew, I should say. My guy, the real BK, Bob Kelly. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to be back on the air talking Celtics basketball. The last time the two of us were together for an official Celtics podcast, it was a somber mood, to put it lightly. I'm happy we're here already. This is my favorite thing about basketball season is like the off season is like this, where we're already sitting here talking about next season's schedule and we're getting ready to go at what the season starts. What, October?
So yeah, October 18th. This Philly will be in chat shortly. Obviously, media day should be late September.
Yeah,
so
we're
recording it in August. So obviously, so preseason first game starts against Charlotte, I think October 2nd, which is Sunday. So I'll be there most likely, working that game. But yeah, I'm excited, man. Like, this is always a fun time to see. Like, this should be a win. This is probably a schedule loss. Like, so there's a bunch of optimism that comes with the schedule. So let's get into it. So right away, we just alluded to it a few seconds ago, but October 18th, we get Philly off rip. Personally, I love that, but just what are your thoughts about that opening the season with Philadelphia?
You know, it's a big game early. I know it's tough to have a big game in game one of the 82 game schedule, but it's definitely going to set the tone for early in the season. You know, Philadelphia to me is a tier below the Celtics going into this season. I know that was different the past couple seasons, but I think they're clearly, Celtics are in that 1-2 conversation. The Sixers are in that 3-4-5-6 conversation. I think it's going to set a tone for who this Celtics team is and what they expect, because I just think if they come out, you know what I mean? They blow out the Sixers opening night, man. It's on. It's on. But if it's a loss or like they come out looking like they did at the beginning of last season, we could be in for a tough beginning stretch. But I like it. Rivalry opening up, and beating Harden. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. Like, I mean, listen, I know there's been a lot of turmoil at Philly's offseason as well, trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And, they got kind of, hit with NBA tampering charges, with the signings of PJ Tucker and some of the guys they brought in the offseason.
They got their dudes. Honestly, they still got their dudes.
Right, no, of course. But I'm like, listen, I think tampering in any sport's a joke. Like, listen, teams talk all the time, players talk all the time. Like, I know they don't want us to make it seem like it's like it's not happening, but we know that it is. Like, this just accept it for what it is.
It's 2022. Everyone is a text message away, bro.
Give them like a $5,000 fine. Okay, call it a day. Like, send it to charity, whatever. But yeah, so open up with Philly is good. They got a back-to-back right away, which I don't love. But it's against Miami and against Orlando. Honestly, I don't know about you. I hate back-to-backs. I think, to me, we're at a stage now where we don't need to see back-to-backs happen in the NBA. And if they do happen, it really should be no more than 1 or 2. And they still have about 4 or 5, in the regular season. So, I mean, so what are your thoughts on that?
I heard a thing today. They actually have 13 back-to-backs on the season. And it's actually, when you look at some of the back-to-backs, there's a tough one. There's an LA back-to-back. That's going to be tough. But most of them are kind of favorable. I think the Miami-Orlando one might be one of the toughest ones, man. It's like you have Denver and Utah as a back-to-back, or you have Toronto and the Knicks.
That's going to be tough, though. If those teams are healthy, well, I know Utah made that big trade, so they may not be the same, but
Utah is kind of rebuilding. But I mean, it depends on what direction they headed in, I guess. But I just think that's one of the Celtics. They actually played Detroit twice on back-to-backs, which is kind of scary because we all know what Detroit does to the Celtics team for some reason. But it just I like that in the schedule that they have some easy back-to-backs. There is one thing that stood out to me about the schedule, man, is the weird West Coast trips. Did you notice that, like, normally you have a West Coast trip, you play like Sacramento, Golden State, the Lakers, you know what I mean? You just go right down the coast. And this year they're starting out like on the East Coast, and they have to travel west, and they have to come back east. It just those are the things that I feel like trip this Celtics team up, is when they don't feel mentally prepared, or like they don't feel like they're mentally there. That's when they start to trip up, and that's when you start to see 18 turnovers a game. You start to see, the bad shooting nights from Jalen and Jason. It just that's what worries me, less than the back-to-backs about the schedule. But all in all, man, I'm excited for the December to January run. I didn't want to get there yet, but I kind of forgot what I was going to say, and so I'll just jump into it.
I still want to look at November, I know we're going to get there, but even so, to me, I feel like the schedule's pretty favorable in October and November, even with the back-to-backs. Like, I feel like the toughest opponent would be Memphis and Denver, and obviously Miami too. They got Dallas at home right on Thanksgiving Eve, so that should be pretty exciting. Sacramento comes here on Black Friday, so that should be pretty. That should be an easy one. That's probably going to be a matinee game, because I feel like that's what it usually is. But that's also a stretch that has 3 or 4 nights. But to me, I think they got to hit the ground running. Like, I think they got to blow through teams in October and November, and then because like I said, that December stretch where they're on the road for about 2 weeks. So it's like you got Brooklyn, Toronto, Phoenix, Golden State, Clippers, then the Lakers. And then you end up coming back home against Orlando. That's that next Friday night on December 19th, it looks like, or 18th.
18th,
like,
yeah.
That's brutal. Like, that would be the early test in the season. Obviously, we know in the NBA, they always say, oh, the NBA season doesn't start until, Christmas Day. So, but they need to hit the ground running. I think that, to me, especially after how last year started, like, they were so terrible early on, and fans were infuriated, players were infuriated. Like, no one wanted to watch the team. They were getting booed out the building every night. I know, I was there for that first 2 or 3 months of the season. So they got to hit the ground running. Tatum in general, in particular, has to be the guy that hits the ground running, not wait until January to be like, oh, like, let me start getting 30 a night. No, from night one, get out there, do your thing, and say, whether you're coming into Boston, whether we're a visiting team, I am the guy, not a guy. I am the marquee. I am the main event. I am the showstopper. You know where I'm going with this. I am who the people come to see. Yeah. So that's when he has to take over. And once again, I don't want to turn it into a Jason Tatum show, but I'm just thinking about, these certain trips. I'm expecting him. I'm expecting JB. I'm expecting the Celtics 4 to say, you know what? We're going to continue to be road warriors, right? Because that was their thing last year. We're road warriors. We continue to do our thing. So, if that's the case, you need to make sure that you handle business, especially on that first big West Coast trip. So, what other stuff or what the other spots on the schedule stood out to you?
So you talk about October, November. I just went through it. So there's about 24 games. I might have missed a game or two. About 24 games before December, right? You're right. That early schedule, man, is a cupcake schedule. The toughest teams you have on here, I don't want to call it cupcake, but I mean, you have the Sixers, you have the Grizzlies, and you have the Bulls and the Mavs. So that's really it. Sixers, Bulls, Mavs, and Grizzlies. Other than that, you're playing teams like the Cavs, the Magic, the Wizards, the Pistons, the Thunder. The Pelicans, we don't know what they look like without Zion. You should be able to beat them, though. Again, the Wizards, the Hornets, teams the Celtics should absolutely beat. No doubt about it. On the Celtics' best night, they're better than every single one of those teams. So, to me, I think that a successful first 2 months of the season looks something like a 20-4, 18-6, 16-8 at absolute worst, right? At absolute worst, If this team is 16-8 going into December, I'll be happy. Anything worse than that, I think is trouble in the water, because then you're right. The schedule gets tough quick, man. Gets tough.
So let's
quick.
stay there, right? Because obviously, we speak about what they should be coming out the gate, and we've already alluded to how they should be hitting the ground running. Like there's no other way to say that, but just to say it, like they have to hit the ground running. They have to be on top of their game from the jump. How do you feel they handle being the hunted in the East? Because obviously they've been consistently climbing, getting there, falling, getting there, falling, getting there, falling. But now that they're the team in the East that just made the finals. Obviously they didn't win it, but teams are going to use them as a measuring stick to see where they are, see how close they are to making it to the playoffs or potentially getting to into a deep run. So just how do you think they handle being a team that most nights people are coming in going to give their best shots on a regular basis?
What's hilarious is you can tell we've been doing a podcast about the Celtics for almost 2.5 goddamn years together, because I literally had this thought on the way home tonight where I was like, man, how are they going to handle not being the questioned ones, not being the underdogs, not being the you can't break us up, not being the disrespected, you know what I mean? Being the guys that are respected, because we've seen the history of this core, where as soon as they have expectations and as soon as they have a weight on their shoulders, they have a tendency to not play their best basketball. I'm hoping Ime is the reason why that doesn't happen, why they don't crater and don't fall into their expectations and don't succumb to the weight of their expectations. What I'm trying to say, it worries me a little. I'm not gonna lie. Like I literally sat there for 20 minutes and I like, oh my God, man. Like imagine if they come out of the gate like shit and we have to go into this whole dark Celtics hole again next year. Like I'm not ready for that, but I don't think they're gonna do it. I just feel like Ime is the reason why, in my opinion. I feel like he comes out and he doesn't let them even think about that. You know what I mean? He doesn't let that creep into their brain, because if you remember, man, that Kyrie year where, they went to the ECF, Kyrie's coming back and all of a sudden Jalen's talking about 4 championships. And like, there was a lot of outside noise that I feel like they're feeding into. I don't see that happening with this team. You see Jason at the podium, you see Jalen at the podium, you see these dudes where they're just so laser focused in on, being the best night in, night out, being game in and game out, giving their best efforts, all this different stuff that Ime has imprinted in their brains. I think they'll be able to handle it. I really do. I really, really do. It does. I'm not going to lie. There's a little like 2% inside of me that's like, but man, imagine how fucking dark that would get, how bad that would get so fast. If they're 500 going into December, man, can you imagine the shitstorm on Celtics Twitter? It would be unfathomable.
Right. No, I mean, and honestly, it would be warranted just like it was last year. And I know, we end up defending it like, oh no, like, have patience. Nah, I'm beyond the patience point. You got to come out going in. So to me, I'm like, yo, I don't know. I think I don't have a definitive answer for if they're going to handle being the hunter well. I just know from previous or past experience, they don't handle prosperity well. They just don't. They have not handled prosperity well under the Brad Stevens era. They did to an extent under the Doc era because they'd already won, so they'd already knew what to expect. I think they have to finally get over the hump in order to say, okay, you know what? It don't matter what building. Doesn't matter what time of the game. We're going to give it our best. And I've said this before on the show, and I want to bring it back because it ties into what we're currently speaking about. Chuck Daly, who is one of the greatest coaches of all time, coached out one of the, old school rivals, the Detroit Pistons, and obviously, Isaiah Thomas, Vinny Johnson, the Bill Bears, Dennis Rodman.
The USA team,
Coach the USA team, right? And Isaiah Thomas paid him the greatest compliment where he spoke about how, one, he talked about how Chuck coached from the neck up, but he also said, hey, if we believe we can win one game on the road, then home court doesn't matter. And so it was just little mind games like that Chuck Daly would play that would get them going, knowing that Detroit had been to 3 finals in a row at the time. They had been to, 3 or 4 Eastern Conference finals at the time in a row as well. So, just finding different things to say, you know what? Yes, the process may get stagnant. You may not want to do things a certain way. You may think that you've already arrived, but you know what? If we go about it this way, if we go about it that way, we'll be back where we're supposed to be in June. And then instead of watching another team celebrating on your floor again up here in Boston, the confetti will be falling for the right reasons. Yes, that was a dig at you, Philly fans. The confetti will be falling for the right reason. Saying, hearing Queen song, we are, the champion. So that's just where I stand on that. But hopefully they respond well to the, to the heat that's going to be coming, for sure. So
no pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. They're definitely going to be there in the grand scheme of things. So now going on to the February and March, right? So before the All-Star break, so February, so you got Brooklyn, you got Phoenix, you got Charlotte, Philly, Detroit again before the All-Star break like they did last year. They got Memphis as well before the All-Star break, so that's also going to be interesting. I'm surprised it's on a Sunday night. I feel like that should be a Friday night game or a Wednesday night game. That Memphis game here last season, man, that could have been an NBA Finals game. And it was electric. Like TNT had that game. I was right behind the basket when they threw the alley-oop to Ja and he threw it down. And I mean, the crowd with 20,000, you said 20,000. Oh my God! Like this dude is unreal. And he's obviously one of the new faces of the league. Obviously, just getting that new max deal that he got in this offseason. That 5-year, $193 million deal. So kudos to him, or congrats to him, I should say. But I'm looking at this stretch in February. I think this is another stretch like it is, like we talked about in October, November. Although you got Phoenix, Philly, and Memphis on there, you also got Detroit twice. Sorry, you do have the Bucks on it too. I'm sorry, you got the Bucks and Detroit back to back before the break. Then you end with Indiana, you got Philly, and then you got the Knicks. To me, February is another month where they need to make some more statements. Obviously, listen, we talked about Brooklyn not breaking up. I don't think Brooklyn's going to break up. So you're going to still have to see them, and I want them to bring make it a statement game every time you face them. I'd be like, I don't care if it's at Dyckman Park. I don't care if it's at Rucker Park. I don't care if it's at the Barclays Center. I don't care if it's on Atlantic Ave, Williamsburg, Flatbush, whatever. We are coming to play and we're going to bust your ass every single time or whoop that ass, right? We're going to whoop that every
wax that ass.
Yeah, wax that ass, baby, every single time. So, yeah, so I'm just thinking, February and then into March, man, you got Cleveland, Brooklyn, New York's on there a couple of times, Indiana, Utah. So just going into
most of them at home break, too. Most of them are at home.
Yeah, most of us at home. So just what do you want to see from them at TD Garden? Because obviously TD Garden was really a house of horrors last year for the wrong reasons. So just what do you see them becoming becoming? Excuse me, if I can speak. What do you see them becoming? By the time we get to that All-Star break, early March, as we get ready for the stretch run to the postseason.
Yeah, man, I think that's such a key part of the season because, you looked at it this past year. It's like that's where we took off, man. That's where this team became who they were, was late in the season, and you have an opportunity to do kind of the same thing, where you're facing a lot of teams that you should be able to beat when you play. When you play your best games, you should be able to beat a lot of these teams, home or road, doesn't matter. And then the teams that you are kind of a toss-up against, you mostly play them at home. I mean, you have the Suns at home, you have the Grizzlies at home, you have the Nets at home, you have this long road trip there, but then you have like the Spurs at home. Well, I guess the Spurs aren't the Spurs anymore, but you know what I'm saying. You have the Suns at home, Lakers at home, Nets at home. Right. So you got all these teams at home that you should be able to beat, and the teams that that are a toss up against, you have them at home, and then the teams that you should be able to beat, you have on the road. And it shouldn't matter that they're on the road. So that's such a huge stretch right there. Another big thing too is, like, guys are scrolling through here, there is another big road trip in the middle of March where you have the Hawks, the Rockets, the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Kings. Granted, you should be able to go 4-1. At the very least, 3-2 on that road trip. It all depends on, obviously.
Honestly,
I'm 5-0.
Honestly, I'm 5-0.
Sorry. Right? That's
5-0. I'm sorry. Like,
you should be rolling by the end of March.
What? Okay, no. Let me take that back. Let me be respectful. I'm sorry. I forgot that they got who we wanted in Deontay Murray.
They get Murray.
They're going to be an issue down there in Atlanta. So let me say that back. So 4-1, 4-1. Even though Portland and Utah can be really rowdy as far as their home crowds go, I forgot Minnesota's on there too. But
Pat Bev ain't standing on no tables this time.
Oh my God! I listen. Quick aside, I still can't believe one that happened.
I can't believe we did that.
So can't believe that happened. But then two, it's like, why he helped change your culture again for a year, and you still
traded his ass.
Like, it's just like, what is going on? Like,
this bro, he parlayed that into a Sports Center seat or a First Take seat for 3 weeks. 3 weeks he was on that fucking show.
Talking like he had on a podcast. Like, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And they're like, you know what, Pat Bev?
I would love him to get a show. I'm here for it. Like, he was talking shit about Chris Paul. He was going in by everybody. Like, the Chicago and him came out for sure. He was definitely talking just shit. But yeah, I try to put that out there. But no, that road trip should be another trip where, like, I listen, and I know we're gonna get into this soon, but I'm looking for this team to at least be a 55-win team, at least. And I want the 1 seed. I know that they won as a team. They came into the finals as a 2 seed, and it was an improbable run. And if Middleton played, and if this happened, if that happened, there's a lot of hypotheticals y'all was throwing out there that didn't happen, and it doesn't matter. Yada. Once again, if Durant was a size 15,
that's what I was just gonna say, man.
I don't want to fucking champion. Like, let that shit go. But because it's Boston and y'all want to be irritable, y'all want to be, y'all so anti-Boston that y'all can't even make fucking logical takes. It's like, bro, like, just that shit gets me. It gets me annoyed every time, because it's just like there's hypotheticals every single year in sports, especially basketball.
Pretty sure Celtics were missing Robert Williams and Marcus Smart was hurt.
So much happened, bro. Like, it's just there's so many.
Kyrie was out. Harden was out. Like, there's so many different things. Like, stop it.
Chris Paul was out a few years ago. So yeah, it's
the way it goes, right?
Exactly. So it's just like, just pump the brakes. Once again, things happen. Once again, I would love for them to be healthy so we can face them again, and we see what goes on there. As long as he comes back at the healthiest version of himself, but it is what it is. So yeah, so now we get to the final month of the season, man. There's only 4 regular season games there. So got Toronto twice and home and home, Philly, then Atlanta. So where do you think they're at by season's end?
I think it's that final stretch run, man, could turn out to be pretty huge when it comes to seeding. I mean, you have Philly and Milwaukee in the last goddamn week of the season. Those games could be huge, man. I mean, you're talking 2 teams that easily could be competing for that 1 seed with you. So you have Philly, Milwaukee, and 2 games against Toronto. Like, remember last year how we didn't set our players coming down to the end, and like we went into it firing into the playoffs, and that's really what brought us to that NBA Finals appearance, was that mindset.
Right.
I see the same things at the end of this stretch run, man. We're gonna go out against Milwaukee and the Sixers, and we're gonna play everything. We're gonna play them like they're playoff games, like they matter. And I love having these games at the end of the season for this team because we saw it this year, man. They don't hide from no one. They're not going to set up and be like, oh, we're going to set up our playoff, appearances so we play this. No, they don't give a fuck. They're going to go out there and just win games, and they're going to get their seed. You know what I mean? They're not going to sit there and sit this guy at the end of the season or sit. That's not happening with this team. Ime's not that guy, man. He's not. He will never. I don't see him doing that, being like, well, rest this guy because we already have this seed. Listen, if it's locked up, that's a whole different story. But
yeah, if they're far and away as number 1 seed or number 2 seed, like I totally get it.
That's different. But if you're still in fluctuation, there's no goddamn way Ime is ever going to put in this team, we're going to lose this game on purpose. That's never happening. So I'm excited for this end stretch because I think it's gonna mean a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, especially with I want to focus on that Toronto, the last two with Toronto. I believe in Nick Nurse. I believe in Scotty Barnes. I believe in Pascal Siakam. I believe in Fred VanVleet.
I do. I mean, I do.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, sorry, DK, but that's what it is. But, those guys, well, I mean, Barnes wasn't there for the championship, obviously, but a majority of those guys that are still there were battle tested and were on the championship team that won. And once again, what's just going back to the argument we talked about a few minutes ago. Yeah, we know if KD was healthy, Toronto doesn't win. Guess what? It's like they won. Clay got hurt. Steph was still out there. Steph didn't do enough against Kyle Lowry and them boys. Like they still, they still got manhandled when it mattered most. But that's a whole other story for another day. But yeah, I just think that that final stretch against Toronto, where they're probably going to be fighting for a 5th or 6th seed like they were this past year, and because Nick Nurse is so physical, or his teams are so physical, I think that would be an excellent tune-up for the playoffs, maybe even a great series if we were to face them. And
it could be a series preview,
whatever round. So yeah, I just think, to me, I said it a few minutes ago, I believe that this could be a 55-win or more season. I think that we are looking at a Tatum MVP-like season. Don't know if he wins the MVP. That's too early to tell. We'll have other shows where we can dive into that and give our prediction on that. But just the early predictions from this, I think that I can see them going 56-26, which should be good for first in the East, in my opinion. Maybe second, unless Milwaukee, I think, maybe gets hot or whatever, and they chose to get to number 1 seed. But I think that's going to be good for a top 2 seed. I think Tatum and Brown are going to average 25 or more. I think Brogdon finds a way to win 6th Man of the Year. I do.
I love it.
I think, so I mean, all of this made a conversation, what I'm saying? Like, I know that people that listen to this, like, oh, like, why you made this decision in August? And so many things could be, listen, I'm not one of these guys to do a show to do it just to be right. I know a lot of y'all listen to this and be like, man, oh, that prediction was crazy. Hell, somebody already commenting and on other videos saying that, oh, well, this was a lazy take and this and that. Well, cool. 1, we thank you for listening. 2, everything is easy to talk about in hindsight. We talk about what we feel in the moment, and that's just what it is. If it comes out to be right, great. If not, then it's forever on the internet, and we just go from there. But like I said, definitely 50-win season incoming. We're gonna see leaps from Tatum, see leaps from Brown. We're gonna see very high IQ plays from Brogdon and Smart, I think, together at the same time, and that should be encouraging as a Celtics fan. And like I said, love the addition of Gallo, despite what I thought, when we didn't get to St. Murray, but, love the addition of Gallo as a shooter for this team, someone that can stretch the floor. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how it unfolds. So, what are your predictions or early on predictions after that go?
I'm going to get crazy. 62-20 for this team, man.
Okay. So like the 09 team. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Listen, this is going to be a special season because I don't see that. I know we've seen it before. I don't see that downfall coming, and I can almost guarantee. Actually, I'll put it this way. I'll put it differently. It's a disappointment to me if Jason Tatum's not in the top 3 of the MVP conversation this year, because from what we've seen from him from who he is as a basketball player now, right? We saw what he did in that playoff run last year. We saw how he ranks historically in his first 4 to 5 seasons in the playoffs. We've seen all these things, right? Jason Tatum now is that upper echelon elite NBA talent. And it's time for the rest of the NBA to recognize that, and B, for Jason Tatum to give them no goddamn choice but to recognize that. And to me, that's what I think this season is going to show, because now we have, I love Marcus, right? I love all these guys that we had last year as role players, but we had no one else on this goddamn team who could create a shot by themselves except for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart, 20% of the time, can do it, right? But other than that, we had no one else who could create their own shot. Now we have Gallinari, who's a step back, who waiting to happen, who's a catch and shoot waiting to happen, and we have Malcolm Brogdon, who is what Derek White wishes he was offensively. Let's put it that way. And that was my bad. I didn't mean to take a shot at Derek White. I love you, Derek White. I'm sorry. My bad. It's just in the DNA now at this point. But I'm just saying, like the ceiling for this team is so high, man, and it's the highest it's been in a very long time. And if they don't come out and capitalize on this and shut all those goddamn haters up and be that team that we expect them to be, it will be one of the most disappointing things I've seen from a Boston team in a long time, because I have such high hopes from this basketball team, especially from Jason Tatum, because of the way that ended last year and the shadow it left over that run that he had. You know what I mean? It was so magical. It was so amazing. But he still had like this shadow just fucking lurking over him at the end of the season. Like, oh, you sucked in the finals. You didn't have it. You're not that guy. You're not really that guy. You looked like you might. It's time for all that shit to stop. And right. I think this is the year it does. I really feel it. And if it doesn't, that's a whole different conversation that we can have on a whole different goddamn show. But in my head right now, I think this is the year that Jason Tatum becomes a top 3, maybe even one of the best, like talked about as one of the best players in the fucking world, because he's got the talent. It's time for him to do it.
Right. And I want to end it with this, because this is something that actually she's a former coach in Boston, Kara Lawson, who played for Tennessee, who played in WNBA, as I just mentioned, also was an assistant coach for the Celtics a few seasons ago, as now currently at the helm of Duke women's basketball down there in Durham. And she made a speech several weeks ago speaking about, handling hard better. Saying like, oh, if we get through this practice, it'll be better. If we get through this semester, it'll be better. And I'm hoping that people on that team in that organization saw that video and internalized that with themselves to say, you know what? It's not just about getting through this particular week or getting through that particular stretch. It's once you get through that stretch, it's okay, cool. We got through the Clippers. We got through the Lakers. We got through Memphis. We got through Philly. We got through whoever the opponent may be. Is that okay, cool. Have the next victim mentality, understanding that I'm handling hard better. It was very hard. It should be a very hard thing or hard pill to swallow for them to see that Golden State celebrated on their floor. So as the schedule came out recently, they should be able to look at the schedule and say, you know what? This is the year that we handle hard better, regardless of what we are doing. And, we'll just make sure that we come out on top more times than not. So Tatum, this is your time. JB, this is your time. And this team as a whole, it is your time. And we look forward to seeing you in October. We look forward to seeing you on Christmas Day. And anytime that you guys are the marquee or the main event, as I love to say, it's time to show up and show out. So for the Real BK Bob Kelly, I'm Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baklaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
An Electric Cat production.
See you there.
Electricast.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast. Electricast.